Now let's start with local news and some Christmas news here. Council in Melbourne, Stonnington Council, this is just pathetic antics from them. Look at the Christmas posters. Devoid of any mention of Christmas, make merry. What does that even mean? And let's have a look at how some residents improved these posters by crossing out the make and writing in Christmas under Mary. There we go. That's much better, isn't it? So if the council's not happy, they've said that they're disappointed by the vandalism and that their decorations were all about being inclusive and acknowledging the different celebrations held in December. But seriously, coming from a minority family, someone who's not Christian, they are not doing this on behalf of minorities. They're doing it on behalf of some lefty losing it. Let's be honest here.
Oh, Rita, look, I'd love to be down in Toorak, seeing those people with their white texters or, liquid paper going and writing Christmas over these signs. But this is just where things are taken too far. You're right, it's bowing to a minority, trying to please everyone, but in the end, offending a lot of people. Why can't we just say Merry Christmas and enjoy the festive season? And for those who don't celebrate it, that is okay too.
Well, it's completely okay, but those people, your ethnic minorities, aren't the ones who are offended by Merry Christmas. I can tell you it'd be some green-haired freak who was born and bred here and probably went to some private school. Let's move on to a shocking story. I hate to be even covering this story, but it's gone viral. This is a story from Perth, but people around the world are now talking about it because of the video clip that's been released of this dog owner, this woman who throws her tiny Maltese Shih Tzu off a 2-storey shopping centre car park. The poor dog, well, it did survive the fall, but it had to be put down later because of its injuries. In a now deleted Facebook post, the woman said she did the dog a favour because, and I quote, "all I did was hurt her and abuse her." I mean, it's just a gross story, Sophie, but a lot of people, again, commenting around the world saying the sentence is manifestly inadequate. She got 12 months in prison. The judge said that it was a planned, deliberate and intentional act. I'm not one to normally defend the judiciary, but I will here because it is very rare for animal abuse cases to end in any sort of a prison term. So the fact that she'll be spending around 12 months behind bars, I think, is actually a lot better than a lot of people would have expected, and hopefully it sends a strong message.
Rita, there's something completely unhinged and very sick about that. When I was reading this story, you can't help but your stomach just curls over. It's just such a horrid story, but there's something obviously incredibly wrong for that woman to do something to such a, innocent little pooch. I love pooches.
Her own dog.
Love dogs, and I just feel any person who loves animals cannot feel anything but, utter sickness from this.
Oh, it's just, and I've written about this a lot, the connection between those who engage in animal cruelty and those who go on to commit horrendous acts against humans as well. The relationship there is quite established. But let's move on to, this is one of your stories that's gone crazy. I somehow missed this because it was on SBS. That's probably why I missed it, because you know who's watching. But they've had to issue an apology at one of our taxpayer-funded broadcasters. They've issued this apology to Warren Mundine because of a exchange that happened with Marsha Langton, but it's not the exchange with Marsha Langton in particular that is the issue. It's the SBS host's role in that. The SBS Ombudsman found that during the exchange, host Narelda Jacobs had unduly favoured Professor Langton. Well, let's have a look and you make up your own mind.
Fixing the problems that we have in Aboriginal
just going to interrupt you there
because I'm not going to sit here and cop lies from people.
Well, we're not going to sit here and take you abusing a national treasure like Marcia Langton, who never said that Australians were racist.
And you must accept.
And her words were twisted. I'm going to stop you there, Warren.
People make the decisions.
I think, well, we've just seen who Warren Mundine is.
Yes, that's right.
That is extraordinary. So she was supposed to be hosting that, not participating in the debate, but she seemed to be very much a participant.
Rita, this is Narelda Jacobs, who is an Indigenous woman.
I thought she was on Channel 10.
And she's on Channel 10 too, and declares that she's not an activist. However, she was wearing a, vote, for the Voice referendum on referendum day. She said she supported the Uluru Statement. This is nothing short of disgraceful. I was actually watching this exchange live on the night of the Voice referendum count. Could not believe what I was seeing. Spoke to the SBS the next day, and they were left scrambling after getting 8 complaints about this, taking 2 months to investigate it. Now, Rita, I will point out they don't make these findings public. It was only that I was handed the findings by someone else about this, which is shocking. And Narelda Jacobs has not said a word about her conduct, nor has she apologised, as far as I know, to Warren Mundine, nor has she been disciplined.
That is astonishing that anyone would talk to Warren Mundine in that fashion, but then to behave like that and say, I'm not an activist, I'm just an impartial news presenter completely down the line. Please stop insulting your audience. If you're going to engage in opinion, then label it accordingly. This audience isn't that stupid. And Sophie, you've just broken a story. As we speak, it's going up live on the website. That other taxpayer-funded broadcaster, the ABC, that gets over $1 billion of our money every year, they've got a saga unfolding right now.
They have. You can read about this on the Australian's website, Rita. So a Palestinian journalist for the ABC has put together a video talking about the BDS, the boycott program, where you boycott Israeli products. She's talked about this program, why it's so popular. She's offered no dissenting voices in the clip.
Wow.
And she's just talked about someone who is boycotting Israeli products, but offered no counter-argument to this. And what has happened is the ABC have removed the video, but they're yet to respond to why they have removed the video. But this is, again, another issue for the ABC and its conduct over the Israel-Gaza conflict.
Well, this is what happens when you've got activists masquerading as journalists. It just happens over and over again. And if they just balance the ledger a little bit, I could perhaps forgive it, because they are a public broadcaster. They operate from our taxpayer dollars, so they have got a legal obligation to be balanced, but it's all one-way traffic.
Exactly.
And they just deny it. They're living in delusion. Now, let's go to the international stories, because this is incredible stuff. The big news out of the US, Donald Trump being disqualified from the 2024 ballot by the Colorado Supreme Court. The former president's disqualification is related to the January 6 Capitol Hill riot. The court released a statement following the ruling on this decision, saying, "We did not reach these conclusions lightly. We are mindful of the magnitude and weight of the questions now before us." Now, Trump has labelled the decision completely flawed. That's putting it lightly. This is Banana Republic territory, Sophie. This is just disturbing on a whole new level. I don't think it's going to stick, but it doesn't matter. You've got these Democrat-appointed activist judges who want to disqualify the front runner from the presidential election. It seems like every time a new poll comes out showing Trump doing even better, they come up with new ways to try to corrupt the process, to interfere with the process.
Well, Rita, doesn't this show that they will stop at nothing to try and stop Donald Trump from running? That is what is obvious here.
Yeah.
But I was listening to some commentary about this, which I thought was quite true. If people are going to vote for Trump or not for Trump, if he is to run, then let them vote him in or out. Let the public decide.
Well, that's the problem. They don't want the public to decide.
But let the voters let it vote. That's why we have a democracy. Clearly, they don't want that to happen because they're worried he may be elected.
Well, absolutely. If he was trailing in the polls, none of this would be happening. I am absolutely confident of that. We wouldn't be having all these ridiculous indictments. We wouldn't be having efforts to put him in prison, to remove his name from the ballot. Sophie, I think El Salvador's president, Nayib Bukele, put it best. He took to X and he posted, "The United States has lost its ability to lecture any other country about democracy." absolutely right. If this was happening in some little nation, I don't know, in South America or Africa or Asia, anywhere, we would be condemning them. We would be absolutely condemning them, but it's happening in the United States of America, and California is now considering barring Trump from its primary ballot over 14th Amendment concerns. In a letter to California Secretary of State Shirley Weber, Lieutenant Governor Eleni Kounakakis wrote, "Based on the Colorado Supreme Court's ruling, I urge you to explore every legal option to remove former President Donald Trump from California's 2024 presidential primary ballot." Incredible. Meanwhile, the latest New York Times Siena College poll that was released in the last 48 hours shows Donald Trump is leading President Biden among young voters. This is extraordinary. This is for the first time. We're talking about voters under 30 here, and Trump is leading 49% to 43%, Sophie. If this poll is accurate, it would be sending shockwaves through the Democrats, because that is one demographic that they just count on, the young voters voting Democrat.
Look, Rita, I'm always sceptical of polls, I must say that, because we've seen in the past they have been wrong. But you're damn right. If this is accurate, there would be a lot of people who are incredibly worried that Trump will be voted back in, and I think that terrifies them. So this is why it goes back to your initial point. They are doing everything they can to stop him from being able to run.
Absolutely. Now, iconic American actor, comic Jerry Seinfeld has visited Israel in a show of solidarity with the country's fight against Hamas and the rise in anti-Semitism around the world. The Jewish American star landed in Israel on Monday with his wife and children, meeting families of Israeli hostages still held in Gaza, as well as some recently released hostages. And it did not take long. Like clockwork, the loonies on the left are vowing to disrupt his programs, including his upcoming tour here in Australia. There's all sorts of Twitter X activity about this, Sophie. Do you think they're going to follow through with this? I mean, he is an iconic comic, much loved, very much a mainstream comic, is hardly sort of risque. Are they going to protest and scream at people, probably middle-aged people, trying to attend his shows?
Look, nothing would surprise me in this world of activism, Rita, but you're right. Like, Jerry Seinfeld is not really...
He's very vanilla. I mean, come on.
He's very vanilla. He's not an offensive character. So let's wait and see. But I wouldn't be surprised, Rita, going on, how these activists do operate.
Now, the mother of hostage, Naama Levy, has launched a desperate plea to have her daughter released by Hamas. She told CNN for her time is running out.
My voice may be soft when I speak right now, but the scream is inside me, and I don't hear the voices of the world loud enough responding to the scream. My daughter has been kidnapped by Hamas. Can you even begin to imagine that?
It's just heartbreaking, and that footage, I think it's burnt into the memories of so many people. That was one of the first bits of footage we saw out of October 7, and you just wonder what happened to that girl. What has she suffered? Is she still alive? And if it's done so much to people's emotions who don't even know her, you can hardly fathom how her mother's coping.
Oh, that's right, Rita. Just such an awful situation for her mother. And you're right, it's just one of those situations, even when you're not connected to it personally, it's so heartbreaking and shattering. So, and we've seen so many stories like this come out of what's going on in Israel, so truly shocking.
Now, Israel is urging the International Committee of the Red Cross to pressure Hamas to ensure access to the hostages still under their control. Their response, the Red Cross response, is it won't work. Have a look.
You have every avenue, every right, and every expectation to place public pressure on Hamas.
It's not going to work, because if the more public pressure we seemingly would do, the more they would shut the door.
Well, I'm not sure about that.
Yes, they would. They would. Well,
why don't you try it?
That does seem to be very frustrating, a very frustrating approach that it's not going to work. Well, why wouldn't you try it? Why wouldn't you try everything just to ensure the hostages are alive, they're being taken care of, that, you know, you've got some vital information for their families?
Of course, Rita. I do note that obviously it is a very tricky situation. You just can't go, you know, in like a bullet a gate. But wouldn't you try, you know, and...
Well, I know that clip has caused all sorts of unrest in Israel. There's a lot of people who are just really unhappy. Perhaps... the way it was expressed wasn't the best way it could have been expressed, but if there's a further explanation, then, yeah, we'd like to hear it. Now, let's go to Joe Biden's disaster at the border, where a record 12,600 migrants were encountered by Customs and Border Protection officers in 24 hours. And that's just the ones that were encountered. Thousands of migrants are crossing illegally at the Rio Grande River at the US-Mexico border. The numbers waiting to be processed are exploding. The backlog for immigration hearings is now past 3 million. That New York Post cover is from today, and I tell you, that front page speaks volumes. It's surrender. They're not even trying to address this problem. And it is a crisis, a rolling crisis that's been happening now throughout the Biden presidency. He has set records every year of his presidency for illegal immigration.
This is a real problem, Rita, and I think that's why perhaps even Biden voters will look back to someone like Donald Trump, who's tough on this and has a tough stance, because it appears that Biden has been completely asleep at the wheel.
Oh, well, when he came to the presidency, when he was campaigning, he rolled out the welcome mat. He said, come, and not surprisingly, they came. When you've got pull factors, you're going to have those sorts of issues. Now, finally, let's end on a happy note, because I know how much you love Meghan Markle. So I found this story where she's made a comeback to acting, people. Yes, she's appeared as an extra in an Instagram ad for a coffee brand she's invested in. Let's have a look at the ad.
I want to give a huge shout out to our amazing, clever team here at HQ. Without them, we are nothing. Our fulfillment crew, lovingly packing your lattes. They've been listening to Britney on loop since 2019. Our very smart, only slightly nerdy digital team, making sure the website doesn't crash again like it did last year. Finally, the glue that literally holds us all together. Our incredible, resilient fulfillment team that have helped make 2022 such a big success.
Wow. Okay. What do you make of that? It's got all sorts of reaction, mostly poor. I know what they were trying to do there, but really?
Rita,
she made Prince Harry leave the royal family for that.
Look, I say this shows where her financial situation is, that she's now having to go on TikToks or social media posts for her business or ads. Her career has definitely taken a dive. But I will say this, to finish on a positive note, at least she is not attacking the royal family.
Well, not in that ad, because she doesn't get to speak. Maybe if she got to speak, she would have. But you would think if things were going well, the fact that her name is attached to a particular brand, people know she owns it or has some sort of investment in it, it would go gangbusters. But no, she's got to have some sort of a cute gimmick to actually push the brand. Sophie Ellsworth, always a pleasure. We'll see you again in 2024.